Hello, everybody. This is Omnixius, and I am the writer of the Dragon Knight Prophecy that you can read for free at royalroad.com. And I already made this recording, but it was much longer. It's almost 47 minutes long. I'm going to try to condense this down to 10 minutes. But I feel like I'm going to lose a lot of the meaning and emphasis of it, so I may not use this. Anyway, let's just move right into it. So I'm writing my story, and quite a lot of people are enjoying it, and that has really warmed my heart. I love writing. I love what I'm doing, and I'm a terrible introvert. One of those people who finds it really difficult to be in social environments. So this has given me an outlet for my creativity, a way to express myself. And being able to do these recordings, and I want to be able to do video logs and things in the future, has really helped me open up to the world. And talking to you all online, responding to one another in the comment section, has really meant a lot to me. And the fact that people like my stories and want to read more about it really has invigorated me and given me a passion to want to do this more and more and more. But I don't know how much longer I can do it. Let me say this up front before I say anything else. This story's never going to stop. I am forever going to keep writing this story now because it is my life. I have to write. Even if people didn't like my story, I would still be writing. I just might not be posting it. The question is how much time I'm going to have to write. All of us, we have our problems in life, and all of us are trying to build a life and do something where we're successful. In my case, for a very brief moment in my life, not only was I successful, but I was retired. I'm almost 50, and I had met a woman, and we pooled our resources, which was considerable, and we got a big farm, and it comes with this horse barn, it's got 34 stalls, and it's a big professional show barn. And we took all the remaining money, we sold off all our assets, we took all the remaining money, and we put it in this big, huge investment account. And that big housing crash occurred just afterwards. And we lost 98% of our money in the investing account. And then, we had about $30,000 in savings, and we had this barn that I then started to dump money into to clean up and repair so that we could rent it out. And over the past 11 plus years we've been renting it, it's actually been losing money because no one can afford to pay the rent. They get in, they pay the first couple of months, and then they're gone. They damage things. They damage the tractor. I've had the people drive the tractor into walls and literally crumble a wall in and damage the tractor and then leave. They've destroyed the plumbing. There was a 2,400 square foot apartment as part of the barn that is now uninhabitable because they smashed all the windows. They tore down all the drywall. They shoved sand and stuff down the drains so that all the drain pipes are going to have to be replaced. And then they disappear into the night, owing us, $5,000 in rent on top of all the damages they did. And this has happened again and again and again, to where I ended up having to take another job. But my background is all computer IT, but I had moved to a quiet farming community where there is no IT work out here. So I started to do things like I worked for a guy installing doors and windows for a while, and then I worked installing carpeting for a while. And people who did little trade jobs and things like that, I became like an apprentice. I was an apprentice for an electrician, for a plumber, for all sorts of things. But the guy who did doors and windows decided to retire. And then I was working on a guy who ran greenhouses, and I worked for him for a season, and then he decided to retire. And then I worked for a guy who was installing carpetings, but for a while, and that was going really, really well. But then the company he was working for went bankrupt, and he couldn't get another job right away. So I had to switch to the electrician guy. But the electrician guy, I worked for him for a week, and then the jobs that he was working on, he had other contracts lined up, but they got delayed. So the only thing he had available for me was 4 hours away from home. And you see where I'm going. It turned into this constant treadmill of trouble, which was fine because I don't mind working, and the wife was bringing in a small income, and we were, we'd get somebody in, we'd make a couple of months payment on the people in the barn, they would wreck the place, we'd have to drive them out, we'd go in, we'd have to spend half the money we did collect from them repairing everything they did, and then we'd get the next person in and repeat the process. We have people from our barn that owe us $20,000. We have, I think the number was $48,000 in outstanding debts from the barn that we can't collect, because the way the law is out here, we can sue them and we can get a judge to say, yes, these people owe you the money, but the burden of collecting the money is on you as the individual out here. I can't actually force them to pay me. Now, if they don't pay me for a certain amount of time, I can actually put liens on their property and things like that, but I still can't collect any of that money until they sell the house, until they sell the property. And some of them don't have property. They're always renting. And because they're renting, what they do is they rent a farm and they live there, and the farm is their business. Because they're renting, I can't put a lien on the property, and because they're a sole proprietor running their own business and doing all their own work and not truly collecting a paycheck, I can't garnish their wages. So it's a terrible chain of events. And we've had people abandon horses here and abandon other animals and abandon other like dangerous equipment, like stacks of car batteries and stuff like that and tires, mountains of tires that I end up having to pay to have disposed of properly. Okay, so I limped along and I've been keeping afloat regardless, because I go out and I get all these jobs. Sometimes I have 2 jobs, sometimes I have 3. And I do all this, sometimes I will just call some of the local farms and stuff around there and say, hey, do you need any help weeding? Do you need any help? Blah, blah, blah. I'll come out and I'll work for a couple of weeks just doing this. And I'll bring enough money in to meet the bills in between. All of this was fine until one day my wife's foot swelled up. And just to keep this story short, we thought it was minor. It turned out to be cellulitis. Once the cellulitis was treated, it turned out it had done some damage to the internals of her foot and triggered a larger condition that was called Charcot, which is causing the bones in her foot to break apart. And she ended up getting a bone infection. She ended up in the hospital for over 6 months. She came back from the hospital and she's so weak and she can't walk on her foot anymore that she can't get out of bed without help. She can't go to the bathroom without help. She can't make her own meals anymore. She can't let the dog out. She can't get dressed. She can't bathe. You see where this is going. I can't work anymore. She can't be left alone. And because the job she was doing didn't come with insurance, and most of the time my jobs didn't come with insurance, we didn't have any medical insurance. So she went to the hospital and it was just a nightmare of, you don't have insurance. Well, we can't do this for you. We can't do that for you. They have this like a financial, the hospital had this whole department that was just for financial services, where they literally would hunt for people that would give us like emergency medical insurance for free. And they did find somebody who would, but they would only cover so much for so long. And that's literally when they threw her out of the hospital. Once her condition was stabilized, she was in an IV the whole time because the bone infection could have spread. And, they wanted to amputate her foot originally, but she refused. And they told her, it's like, if this spreads and moves up into your leg, you could lose your whole leg or your life. It could literally spread further into your body. And she refused. Fortunately, it didn't spread. It has been treated and she's fine now, but she can't walk. And she can't get up on her own. And she's lost so much strength. I have to take her through a whole physical therapy routine every day, and then I have to pull her up and get her into a wheelchair because we can't afford to bring in a therapist. We can't afford to do a lot of things. And of course, this whole time this is going on, I'm at the hospital all the time. So the people who are in our barn have decided, well, he's not watching. We can do whatever we want. And they wrecked the place. They fell months and months behind on the rent. And then when I finally showed up at the door, kicked the door in and said, this is ending right now. I want the money. You're fixing this. You're fixing this. You're fixing this. They flipped me the bird and left the next day. And there's nothing I can do. Now I have an empty barn that's wrecked. It's ransacked. I need to somehow find somebody who's willing to rent this ransacked barn and then use the money I'm getting from rent to start fixing it and making it a better environment for them to be in. I can't work. She can't work. And I'm living off of credit cards right now. Credit cards, and I do have income from other things that I have online that make, like $100 here, $200 there. Because I'm home, because I'm sitting here, that's why I started putting up stories on Royal Road, because I've got a lot of free time. She might need me for 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 10 minutes there, to help her with things. But in between, it's like, of every hour, she needs me for about 15 minutes. So the rest of the time I'm doing dishes or laundry or, doing household chores or mowing the lawn and things like that. Or where I'm there is a period in the middle where we're doing her physical therapy. We're getting her up, we're getting her down, I give her bath, that kind of thing. So, I probably spend over the course of a whole day, I probably spend almost 8 hours with her. But the rest of that time is mine. So she's like a full-time job, but it doesn't make any money. I started, in that's the dead time I did have, I started cleaning up some stories I had written, and I started putting it on Royal Road. And this has been a wonderful experience. I love sharing my story with people. But I've reached the point now where if I get her up in the morning and I get her cleaned up and I get her into her chair, go take her through the whole process of, washing, bathroom, dressing, and get her into her chair, I could conceivably start leaving, going out and doing like 4 hours on a farm here, come home, do, run her through some more chores, and then go out and do another 4 hours of farm somewhere else. And I'm going to have to do it because I need to start bringing in more money. We haven't been able to find anybody to rent this barn, and I have to find a way to bring more money in. I spoke to some people online, some people from Royal Road, and they were like, well, just put up a Patreon, and ask your people to donate. I didn't want to do that. First of all, I thought about it before. I thought, well, I could put up a Patreon and a PayPal, but I'd rather wait till I had about 500 followers, till I had a bigger audience, because I don't want anybody to feel pressured, and I don't want anybody to ever think that if they don't donate, that the stories are going to stop coming. That's not true. I want you to understand that right now. I love writing. This is my passion. Whether I have 10 hours to do it or 1 hour to do it, I'm still going to do it. The only thing that's going to change is how frequently the story gets updated. Right now, it's getting updated like every other day to every 3 days because I have so much time. That's going to end very shortly. As soon as I find some place where I can start getting out and doing stuff, that's coming to an end. So I did throw up the Patreon. And, to make matters worse, to make life worse, my poor wife, okay, she can't work. She knows she's a burden. She knows that, she's preventing me from working. So she's like, well, I'm going to find something I can do from home. I'm going to work from home. So she finds this investing service called the Apiary Fund, which is a brilliant, incidentally, look it up. It's a brilliant company. If you're somebody who's always thought about trading online, maybe being trading from home as a kind of like a stock person, and you want to trade currencies, look up the Apiary Fund, because what they do is they give you this training program where they teach you various methods, and they show you all sorts of things. They give you software and everything else you need to trade, and they give you like this program where you work through it, and as you work through it, you go up levels, like almost like you're playing an RPG, and you get achievements, and they give you tests and stuff, and they drill you through these processes, and as you achieve these goals, you go up, like I said, you go up levels, you go up ranks, and it's kind of, they gamed it, they turned it into kind of like a game. But when you reach a certain level, they give you an actual live account with their money in it. It's just a small amount of money, and there's restrictions put on it, like if you lose too much of it too quickly, they'll lock the account. But the big barrier to most people trading online is they don't have the initial starting investment. They don't have the money to put into account to start trading with. Well, with Apiary, as long as you prove you know what you understand the trading methods and you're successful with them, they'll give you a little bit of money. And as you trade and you make a profit with that, they will give you the larger portion of the profit. Like I think it's 60-40 to start, or maybe it's 70-30. You get 70, they get 30. And then as you have a good track record, they give you more and more money to work with. Thus, you can start earning bigger and bigger and bigger profits, and they start taking a smaller and smaller cut. You keep the bigger share of those profits. So if you're someone who doesn't have the money to open an investing account, but you'd love to do it, look up the Apiary Fund. But my wife got into this, and God bless her, she was spending 6 to 10 hours a day just studying. She was online, hammering through this. She was determined, if I'm going to be stuck at home and I'm not going to be able to get out and work, I'm going to find some way to make money. I'm not just going to sit on my butt and rot away. And then I noticed she was starting to lean closer and closer to the computer, and she started to complain that she was having trouble seeing the screen. She was complaining that certain colors were hard to see, and I ended up having to take her to an eye doctor, and she's got cataracts that are growing at an alarming rate. And I don't have medical insurance. I can't afford to give her cataract surgery. We have been sending letters to charities, and there's this group out here called Surgery on Sundays that is willing to look at her. They've given her an appointment. That's not this Monday, but the Monday after it. And with any luck, they'll do it as kind of a charity. They'll do cataract surgery. But I mean, this is the position I find myself in. And my poor wife, here she is. She's suffered this terrible knockdown, and she tried to pick herself up and say, "I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to, I can still work from home. I can do this in the computer." But now she can't do that. She can't see the screen. It's too blurry. To trade, she has to be able to read small numbers and see lines going up and down, and be able to read accurately a chart. She can't do it. And now, she's heartbroken now. Now she feels totally useless. And so I told her, well, why don't you take over trying to get somebody in the barn? Why don't you focus on that? We'll get somebody in. You can manage that, and that'll give me more free time to write and try to do other things. She's trying, but everything she does now is incredibly slow because of how hard it's become to see. And now she's complaining that even I'm blurry. Like, distant things are becoming blurry, and every room is too dark. She has to have a million lights on. It's a mess. It is an absolute mess. I'm going to my credit cards will run out soon, which is why I have to get another job. And the whole thing about this is, and I want to try to keep this a little shorter, I'm going to have to go back to work. The stories are going to start coming more slowly. I did put up a Patreon. I did put up a PayPal. I would love for writing to be what I did. I have a passion for this, and I'm excited for it. If you're looking at my chapters and you're seeing, how big they are and how frequently they're coming out, hopefully it's conveying that this is something I really love doing. I really do. But, life is what it is, and, life threw me a couple of curveballs, and it hit me with one of them. But I got to do what I got to do. I have to do what I can to stay afloat. If I can get someone in the barn, that will help alleviate me hemorrhaging money. And, I won't have to keep using the credit cards to stay afloat. I'll start to be able to pay them back a little bit. And then if I have a job, I'll be able to pay them back rapidly. But this is all a mess. It really, really is. And I put up the Patreon. Hopefully that will generate some interest. And I have it. If I can make $1,000 a month, I won't be able to pay my credit cards, but I'll be able to pay all of my living expenses, all of what my bills are, and even food, because we've cut our food budget down to $50 a week. That's all we allow ourselves for food. We own a relatively big house, and we own a farm with 21 acres, and we've got this beautiful show barn that people keep wrecking. But none of it is any good. It's all a liability unless somebody's renting it. Like I said, it's been a struggle, and I just wanted to explain why the chapters might be a little bit. They might start only one chapter a week or so coming in the near future, and just to point out that I feel like I'm begging. I really do. And I never wanted to do this, but if you have the ability to donate and you really do if you really do love my story, I would appreciate it if you did. You did help. $1 a month, whatever. Otherwise, the story is still going to be there. It's still going to be free, whether you can donate or not. And you know what? I understand if you can't donate. I understand, because look at me. Look at me. I don't have any free money. There are writers on Royal Road who I love. I love their work. There are creators on YouTube who I love their work. I watch their stuff almost every day. Every time they throw up a new video, I'm there watching it because I love the way they present, or I love what they do or how funny they are. And I want to be able to give them $1 a month. I would love to be able to subscribe to them, but I can't. I don't have the money. I can't afford the waste. I want to do video logs. I hate doing these audio recordings, but I can't afford a video camera. That's one of my goals, by the way. If I start making $100 a month, I made a promise to buy an actual proper video camera and start doing video logs instead of audio logs. But life is what it is. And all of us, so many people right now are living paycheck to paycheck. They're living on a shoestring budget. They're living on $50 a month or a week or less on groceries. There are quite a lot of people out there who are really, really hurting. And I understand it. And I just want to promise those of you who are hurting, those of you who just don't have the cash, the story will keep coming. And I'm never going to lock the story itself away behind paywalls. You will never have to be a Patreon donator to keep reading my story. I want you to understand that. Now, I might write like a little side story about, like, maybe I'll write a little story about Jezebel to discuss what happened between when Jezebel gave Gersius the initial message to go to Whiteford, and then where it picks up again, where he gets the letter during the Avis and Talua storyline. I might write a little short story that discusses that, and then I might make that a Patreon reward. You know, the Patreon donators can read about Jezebel, or they can read about... Another thing I thought about doing is Lily reads a book at one point in the story where she reads about a prophet of Veles and his story to save his daughter. I thought, what if I wrote that book? Actually wrote that story out so that my readers could read the same book Lily was reading. You know, I thought that would be kind of neat. It would be a way for you to sort of join the world with Lily, you know, with Gersius and Lily, and be a part of that world more. You know, that could be a Patreon reward. Right now, I don't have any rewards up there, like I said. I threw it all up, and I'm honestly thinking about throwing up like a GoFundMe or something, some way to generate some emergency cash. But so I just want to promise you, dear readers, don't donate if you don't have the money. I want to promise you the story will keep coming. The only thing that's going to change is how frequently I'll be able to update. That's all. The story will keep coming. I promise you. Unless I die tomorrow, you're going to keep getting the story. All right? That's my promise. Do not, look at me. I don't have any money to donate. There's plenty of people I would love to give money to. I don't have a dime to give to anybody, okay? Please, don't donate if you don't have the cash. Anyway, I'm going to end this here. I did better. It's not 47 minutes long. Thank you all for listening. I hope this didn't sound too beggy. I just wanted to be honest and be upfront. You know, and share. I have found this whole experience of sharing my story on Royal Road to be one of the most important and impactful moments of my life, and I have discovered my true passion. I love telling the story, and I love writing, and I have other stories now I want to tell, and some way I am going to find a way to do it. I'm going to find some way to just tell my stories and get them out there and create this world, and I want to talk to you all. I want to do Discord chats where I can talk to you live, where I'm talking and you're asking me questions on the side. You know, I sometimes allow myself to daydream about, you know, could I go to like a Comic-Con? Would some of my readers show up and maybe I could do a panel, you know, or at least just have a booth where I could meet them, you know, and then physically, you know, shake hands and sign a book or something like that. It could, you know, maybe that's a possibility. I would love to do that. It terrifies me because I'm a hyper introvert. But at the same time, I have discovered I have such a love and passion for this that it overcomes my terror, if that makes any sense. Anyway, we got to cut this off here, or I am going to hit 47 minutes. Thank you all for listening. I hope this was insightful, and I will catch you in the next one.